you with us from across the country. We start today with a report from the Globe and Mail. It says the gunman in Nova Scotia had a list of potential victims, and that list was found by the RCMP at one of the gunman's properties in Portapique, Nova Scotia. That was the first community he targeted. We're also beginning to get a clearer timeline of the sequence of events. It was 10:28 in the evening on Saturday night when the first calls came in about the sound of gunfire. Police set up what they're calling a double perimeter, but it would be 9 hours later before officers knew that the suspect had left the immediate area, and also that he had a lookalike RCMP cruiser and was wearing a legitimate RCMP uniform as well. Still, of course, trying to figure out how he got access to that uniform. But, of course, the big chilling aspect of this is the reporting from the Globe and Mail about a list of potential victims. Let's bring in Matt Logan. He's a criminal investigative psychologist, a former RCMP officer himself, so well placed to talk to us today about this. What do you make of that report about a potential list, Matt?
It's not a big surprise. We've seen it before. I can't confirm the list. I wouldn't confirm the list. But I would say that I've seen this in cases before. I had one case where the person actually, when we went into his cell, did a cell extraction and went into his cell, he had written a whole list of people, 14 of them, that he was going to murder. And I was on the list, so it was quite chilling to be on the list. But what I'm saying is that we've seen this before, and there is a type of a personality that I've dealt with before that will create lists. Don't want to make the creation of a list a big deal yet until we really understand it.
Right. And just to bring our viewers up to speed, Matt, as you and I are speaking, I mean, the Globe was talking to a man who lives in the area about 15 minutes away from where the killing first began, a man by the name of Nathan Staples. And, you know, investigators, he says, told him on Tuesday that they found his name on that list when they went into the property, that he was 7th or 8th on the list. The premeditation factor, though, if we can just look into that, I mean, based on everything that we know and the uniform and the cruiser and all of that sort of thing, what does that tell you as we get more details here about the timeline and now word of a possible list? What do you think?
Well, this is an act of instrumental violence. It's planned, it's goal-directed, it's targeted, and we'll know more about the list. We've had cases where the list actually included somebody that had tripped the perpetrator on a breakaway in bantam hockey 10 years previous. So it's hard to imagine that somebody would keep a list of grievances. My colleague Mary Ellen O'Toole from the FBI referred to these people as injustice collectors, and we talk about the revenge-oriented mind that comes along with this. And so I think that's probably what we're looking at. We've seen it before.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, in this case of this person who's come forward and spoke to the Globe and Mail, you know, he says that the only interaction he had with this guy was that, you know, he didn't sell him a decommissioned police cruiser a number of years ago. And, you know, again, you're talking about the idea of perceived grievances and slights that people, you know, keep track of. They hold grudges. Of course, you never expect it to turn into this. Are you getting any kind of an early sense, Matt, of a profile here of this person?
Well, I would be, but I won't know until we can perform a psychological autopsy on the individual exactly what we're looking at. But certainly we've heard some pieces, and I'd have to confirm the pieces. And we're looking at an individual, obviously, that has a degree of what, if you want to dip into psychology, maybe malignant narcissism. Somebody who is aggrieved easily. Takes offense easily and magnifies that. And we also have to be looking at, with these kind of deeds, we have to be looking at someone who also has a sadistic piece and definitely an antisocial piece.
If you were investigating this crime, let me tap into your experience as a former RCMP officer, Matt. What kind of questions would you be asking here about the shooter?
Well, we'll have to ask everybody, the family, the neighbors. Certainly, we'll be looking for incidents in the past that would indicate someone who is easily aggrieved, someone who takes things personally, someone who would be malicious in their advances toward people that had grieved them.
I know you're joining us from Victoria. Let me ask you, if I can, as well, about some of the criticisms that now have been leveled against the RCMP. You were part of the national force. About the timeline here and how quickly they informed the public and the methods of informing the public. Twitter versus an emergency public alert. We've found out that in fact the provincial system did call the RCMP, Matt, as you know, and said, "Listen, we're ready to go if you want to do this." And then there seemed to be sort of an issue with calling up the chain of command, and there never was an alert issued. And within about an hour and a half or so, the gunman was dead. Is that fair criticism?
I'm not sure. I've stayed away from it. I'm a big supporter of the RCMP. I still work with them, and I know it'll all come out in the end. But I've always found the RCMP officers themselves to be of high reputation, good, experienced investigators that would do the best they could at the time. So I'm just not going to comment on some of the things breezing around about the things that the RCMP may have done wrong. They can address those.
Matt, we appreciate you coming on CTV from the island. Thanks so much for this.
You're welcome, Todd.
Matt Logan.